best go 3 abreast.
It is showtime at Williams Grove Speedway.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, here at Eldora Speedway, it's showtime!
You got him for a rest. Often imitated, never duplicated. The greatest show on dirt, the World of Outlaws.
It's time to sit back, relax, and enjoy, because, ladies and gentlemen, it's showtime!
Set to do battle for 30 laps. The green flag is waving.
Hello again. It is MRN's Wing Nation Weekend, presented by Hefner Racing Products, setting you up for the big race weekend. And wow, have we got a big one. It's rivalry week in sprint car racing. The Outlaws versus the Posse.
One of your favorite weeks, isn't
Not
it?
for the faint of heart. Stay off your Twitter machine if you got a weak stomach, because those people get fired up on there. Holy cow, what a mess this is.
The Beer Hill Gang is ready.
Oh, my gosh, the Beer Hill Gang, the Pennsylvania Posse. Last week, and I showed this on Tuesday, they have towels, the We Are Posse towels.
Ooh, it's getting serious now.
It's insane, this rivalry, and it's something that every sport on the planet wishes they had.
Yep.
Indeed. So, World of Outlaw Craftsman Sprint Cars coming up at Williams Grove. Friday night, the Spring Classic. Saturday, the Morgan Cup. We'll talk more about that as well. Also, rivalry as far as that goes. Not quite as spirited, but I love that the All-Star Circuit of Champions and the IRA Sprint Cars are racing a couple times in Wisconsin. So that is good. And really, one of the really neat events out west, the Peter Murphy Classic.
Oh, I love that race.
What a race. This is one of those, we talked a little bit, and we'll talk about this some more, but what Peter Murphy has done with this race is it made it one of the big asterisk star races on the calendar out in California. So
he's a great guy, and went through a tough time and has come out and doing such great things.
Oh, my gosh, and everyone wins, that's for sure. So we'll talk about that as well. Hey, also, we're going to talk about the Speed Palace, Port Royal. Now, I understand Port Royal's a little bit quiet this week. They've got some truck and tractor pulls, I think, this weekend. They're taking the spring break because of the World of Outlaws down at Port Royal. Next week, it won't be so quiet. Next week, well, batten down the hatches. So
Postman and Ashley are coming to town.
It's the Weicker Memorial, and we want to get a head start on next week. So when we return, Steve O'Neill, he'll join us next.
No matter what or where you race, Hefner Racing Products and HRP Wings has you covered. Built in the USA, HRP is the manufacturer of the original recessed rivet wing, including their premier Shark Wing series, as well as the new Racer Series Sprint Car Wing. Hefner Racing Products wings are available for sprint cars, mini and micro sprints, winged outlaw karts, and junior sprints. HRP is the leader in mule conversions, manufactures and sells a full line of sprint car components, including Nerf bars and bumpers, front axles, precision laser cut chassis building tabs, brackets, tubes, and spuds. HRP has the absolute largest selection of trailer and shop accessories available to sprint car racers. When it comes to setting up your trailer or shop, HRP is the choice for the best in trailer and shop storage and organization accessories. Hefner Racing Products. Visit them and shop online at hrpracing.com.
Grunt style. The American fighting spirit is in everything we make. We are 500 patriots and veterans strong, bringing clothing manufacturing back to the United States of America. Always moving forward, never retreating, never giving up. We are Grunt Style, and this we'll defend. Get yours at gruntstyle.com.
Now back to the Wing Nation Weekend Podcast, presented by Hefner Racing Products.
Welcome back. It is MRN's Wing Nation Weekend, presented by Hefner Racing Products. You can find out more from our friends at www.hrpracing.com. That's hrpracing.com. As we mentioned at the top of the show, it's rivalry week in Pennsylvania, and as we also mentioned, that leads us into the Weicker Memorial coming up at Port Royal next weekend. So a lot of big racing up in central Pennsylvania, and who better to talk about the promoter at Port Royal, but also just an all-around race junkie up in Pennsylvania. Steve O'Neill is on the line. Hello, Steve. Welcome back to the show.
Hey, how's it going?
I'm doing all right. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing all right. Yeah, just keep some sunshine around up here. I'll be a lot better, you know.
Hey, Steve, let's not. I mean, here's the reality. This is not your heartburn this week, okay? Let's face it. The weather forecast does not look good this weekend. As a promoter, what is? I mean, how hopeless does it feel to be sitting looking at a weather forecast like our friends down at Williams Grove are looking at this week?
I'll tell you what, I really feel bad for Kathy and Justin and them that you put so much work into these big shows. And, I mean, it really hurts. I mean, it's just like the show we have next week. I mean, we've been planning this for months. You know, it just don't start the next day. And I'm sure they're the same way. And so it's those big shows really, really hurt when you have bad weather.
Steve, even though we're talking about the weather this weekend, does that affect you the following week as far as track prep or having the weekend off? I think you have some tractor pulls, but were you planning to do stuff at your track this weekend in preparation? Is it going to affect you at all?
Well, yeah, we already have our track sealed off because of it was calling for such heavy rains. So it does affect you in a way, but I think we'll be fine. You know, I got a heck of a track crew, so I think we'll get it figured out.
Yeah, I think so, too. With my buddy Steve Steimley there at the helm, I think you're in good hands there. Hey, I want to talk about the Weichert Memorial, but there's one other thing before we get into that. The Pennsylvania Posse World of Outlaw rivalry, and it'll play out at Port Royal coming up at the end of the year. And but you've been around this sport. You've been around Pennsylvania. How do you describe that to somebody that maybe doesn't understand sprint car racing or doesn't know the passion involved with that rivalry?
Well, I'll tell you what, as far as the passion and the emotion behind it, besides the Knoxville National, I don't think there's anywhere else where you can get that kind of excitement than when you come to Pennsylvania when the Outlaws are in town. And like I always tell people, for years and years, and it still goes on, a lot of our racers from this area is now running with the Outlaws, and they've always have. So it's exciting to see them guys come back home, and they're representing somebody else now, but still it's fun. It's very intense racing, and you just can't beat it.
Steve, you've been around the sprint cars for a long time. How have you seen this rivalry evolve over the years? Is it stronger? Is it gotten more friendly? How has it changed throughout the years?
Well, one thing that hasn't changed, everybody wants to beat one another. That never changes. I mean, the locals want to beat the Outlaws, and the Outlaws want to beat the Pennsylvania Posse when they come in. So that part of it has never changed. Right now, the last 10 years or so, it's just exciting. I mean, we got a lot of good racers right here in Pennsylvania, and they look forward, and they seem like a few of the boys, they really get up on the seats when the Outlaws come in. So over time, I think it's stronger now. I think the Outlaw Series by far, this might be the strongest that they've been for a long time. I mean, every year it just seems like they're getting better and better, and I can't wait to see them. I got to see them a few races down in Florida, so I haven't seen them since, so I'm excited.
Indeed. That's what we love about O'Neill. He's like race fan first, and then he has this little gig at Port Royal. But let's talk about that little gig at Port Royal and the big event next week, the Weichert Memorial. Steve and we're going to be there. Ashley and I are going to be there. We're going to do Wing Nation shows each night before the races. But Steve, if you put this together, obviously the Weichert name is so synonymous with racing. How has this event evolved and continues to move forward as we look forward to next weekend?
Well, it goes back to Bob Weichert. I mean, when I came on board, my first time at Port Royal was back in '97. But even before that, I worked at the Speedway. And in my opinion, Bob Weichert was one of the best owners that sprint car racing ever had. But on top of that, I think he was also one of the best promoters of sprint car racing ever had. And I can tell you, I learned a lot just from hanging around Bob Weichert. Bob always gave me good advice. He was just a fine example. And the one thing I always loved about him, I seen it in his race team. Bob knew how to build a team, and he was a leader. And it don't matter what you're doing. If you're going to be in charge of something, take that example. You need to be the leader, and you need to build a good team around you. And that's, so Bob Weichert taught me a lot.
That's great stuff. Steve, talk about the event itself. I know Ashley and Steve will be there doing Wing Nation every night, but from everything I hear, it's an incredible event, not only on the track, but off the track around the venue.
Well, first of all, Erin, we got to get you up there one of these years.
Seriously.
You need to come up and visit. You haven't been there for a while.
It's been a long time.
But, one thing, when the racing starts, it's very intense.
Yeah. Don't
get me wrong. But I'll tell you what else it is. And Steve, I think, will testify to this. I think it's one of the most fun events in the country. We make it fun. for the race. We try to make it fun for the racers. We definitely make it fun for the fans. And even myself, if you know me, and on race days, I'm a little bit tense. But when the races are over, there is nobody likes to have more fun than I do. So, it's just a fun weekend.
It is. I don't know. I got done there last year. This is the first year I've been up to it. Was last year. I got done there, and I woke up the next morning, my jaw hurt from laughing so much, and it's insane how much fun we have and everything. And ultimately, Steve, when we look at it, the sport itself and the health of the sport in Pennsylvania, as you said earlier, man, the 410, when you put all of the Pennsylvania guys together, which you'll do next week at Port Royal, the on-track stuff will probably take care of itself because the level of competition up there is phenomenal.
It is, and we're looking for a great field of cars. I think we're going to be, I can't mention any names at this time, but I do think we're going to have a few surprises show up, which is going to make the show even more exciting for everybody. And also this year, for the first time ever, I know we're talking wing stuff here, but I got to throw a plug in here. For the first time ever, we're going to do the late models for both nights, and we got a stellar field of late model drivers coming also.
Aaron, I'm going to tell you something. We're all sprint car folks, okay? And we're all there last year. Steve had URC one night and the late models the other night, okay? When those late models rolled out, we're like, okay, let's watch the late models. And when they got rolling around that track 3 wide, it was like, Steve is right, Aaron. Their late model show up there, their late model show will stand alone.
It's a great track for a late model race. Yeah.
Really, really good stuff. Exactly.
Absolutely. So beyond the Weichert Memorial, Steve, what are the other big shows you have coming up? What are some of the other things you're looking forward to? And I also wanted to ask you, when do you start looking at the weather app for next weekend? When do you start peeking at the long-term forecast?
I'm already looking at it. I'm already looking at it, and right now it looks pretty positive. It looks really positive as of this morning, but it'll change 5 times for next week. But I'm looking at it. My wife will tell you I know more about weather than anybody around. I start watching about a week and a half beforehand. But as far as other big shows, we got a lot left on our schedule. We're about a third way through of scheduled races right now as we speak. But I said we got a couple of Speed Week shows coming up, which are going to be really exciting. They're in July. And besides that, I have my Dream Race, which is another big race for the sprint cars. And and then you come to Fair Week, and we do the Tuscarora 50, a 2-day deal, which that was just extraordinary last year, and I look forward to be the same way this year. We had a great field of race cars, and the fans came out, and I'll tell you what, it was pretty exciting. So we have that coming up the second weekend of September, and we're paying $51,000 to win since it's our 51st anniversary for that race. And then we're, like Steve mentioned earlier, we're end of year. October, we got some real nice races. We're in the year with the Tuscarora, with the 2-day World of Outlaw show a week before Charlotte. So hopefully everybody will come from the Midwest, come east, and then we'll go south together. I'll look right down there with them.
Oh, I know you'll be there with him. I see Steve O'Neill at more races than I mean, it's crazy. It really is. Steve, where's information? Where can folks go to find out all the latest on the Weichert and really the rest of the season? Where's the best place to go?
Well, PortRoyalSpeedway.com is the first place I would go to. But for the next couple of weeks, just keep your Twitter account. So besides Port Royal Speedway Twitter account, Facebook, and also Danny Dietrich. Because Danny, in case people don't know it out there, Danny, this race here, of course, with the Weichert family, Danny does helps me out on a lot of the promotional stuff for the Weichert family. As the boys are busy, so they just kind of assign Danny to help out when I need anything. So Danny will be doing some Twitter too, also, I'm sure.
Oh, I'm sure he will. Danny's great with that stuff. He really is. Steve, we can't wait to get up there next week. Thanks again for the invite, and we look forward to a great time next week for the Weichert Memorial.
I can't wait to see you all, and I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, hey, one thing, real. Steve Steinley, how is the cherry trees this year? Are the cherry trees in good shape?
Oh, they're. You know how it is at Port Royal. There'll be some new creations this year.
I know, that's the part I'm scared of. I just learned the cherries. I just learned the cherries last year. So, thanks, Steve. I appreciate it. Thanks. Can't wait to see you next week.
Okay. Yep. Thanks.
You got it. Steve O'Neill. We've had a week here. Okay, I just going back to Tuesday's show.
Yep.
We had Mark Dobmeyer and McKenna Hassey.
Yep.
And you mentioned something, and I don't know if it was on air or off air, but the passion involved in it. Well, I'm telling you, on the other side of the equation, there is nobody that exudes passion on the promotional side like Steve O'Neill does.
I absolutely agree.
We are, and this is why the sport is doing so good. And I'm not singling out Steve because it's Kendra, it's the gang at Jackson, it's the gang at Calistoga, it's the ASCS tour. Everybody, there's such a passion and such a lively feeling for the sport.
Yep.
Yeah, Steve is the one that we talked to today, but we'll talk to a promoter in 2 weeks. It'll be the same thing.
Yep.
I mean,
and so much hard work going into it. Yeah. I mean, obviously it comes behind the passion, but it's incredible. Like you said, the sport is in such a good place. There's not. I love every form of motorsports. I'm going to Indy 500 next week. We go to a lot of NASCAR races, but the passion that you find in sprint car fans, drivers, promoters is, I think, second to none.
It is. It's amazing. And so all next week, of course, we'll follow along with all the details as far as the Weichert Memorial. I do want to mention this. Those guys have lined us up. Okay, we do a show each night, the 2 nights, Saturday and Sunday. The Saturday show, okay, normally we just trot out 10 drivers and, hey, here's Danny and here's Lance and here's Greg and here's this one and here's that one. The Saturday show at the Weichert Memorial is going to be all Weichert drivers.
That is awesome.
This is going to be one for the ages. I mean, it's just.
All right, next year I'm going.
That's right. We got to get you there. And the thing of it is, Erin, you're very health conscious. There's a lot of healthy fruits up there.
Yes,
fruits
I've
like
heard
cherries
there's
up there and stuff like that. I think Steve Steinley has a cherry grove out back of the racetrack.
I'd have to sample them if I went.
Well, absolutely, it's cherries, so it's good. It's part of the party. But our Saturday show is going to be all Weichert drivers. I think we may throw in another big-name team owner on the stage to talk about Bob Weichert, but it is going to be one for the ages. It's one of those shows you want to catch, and those shows will be on wingnation.com, mrn.com, and Speed Shift TV is going to be doing a Facebook Live. So it's just phenomenal. But before we get to that, we need to get to this. Okay, this week. Now, we record this show a little earlier in the week, so we always, especially with the forecast we've talked about, check in with the tracks. Williams Grove, Friday night, Saturday night. Friday night's the Spring Classic. Saturday night's the Morgan Cup. Morgan Cup winner pays $17,000. 12 to win, and then a $5,000 bonus for the Morgan Cup. Morgan Hughes was a former owner of the Speedway, so and Kathy, his daughter, is the operator of the racetrack right now. The thing of it is with this is when we look at this this year, the World of Outlaws, it's been a very shots-rich year. Okay, he's had 8 wins already. I mean, that's just like when we think, one of these years Donnie's going to be human. Well, 2018 is not the year that Donnie is human. Okay, now when you look at Williams Grove, it's like Lance Deweese has 2 wins, Lucas Wolf, Ryan Taylor, Corey Haas, Brock Zierfoss, Erin Ott. So there's a bunch of posse drivers that have already parked it. And then when you throw in point leader Greg Hodnett and Brian Monteith, and it's just loaded up. This is I think I had my list there, but I think Monteith has won there this year also. I think we had that a couple weeks ago. I didn't have him on the list, but I mean the bottom line of it is that this thing is going to be a free for all. I mean, it's just going to be a free for all. Now last year, posse fans, and I know you don't want me to talk about this. But last year, gravel came in and whooped up on Friday night, and Shane Stewart did on Saturday night. Now, the good news is last year at Williams Grove, there were 7 races. The Outlaws won 4 in posse cars. Remember, McFadden in a posse car. Yep. He's way down under. He won one of them. But pretty evenly split, 4 and 3 last year.
Yeah.
So that's what makes a good rivalry. So great stuff. Williams Grove. And again, follow along with their social media. They do a great job with their social media to keep everyone informed. And let's just hope that all the weather prognosticators are just 100% wrong. 100% wrong. The Arctic All-Star Circuit of Champions and IRA bumper-to-bumper sprints. Tony Stewart's group and Steve Sinclair's group, 2 of my favorite people, Tony and Steve. And I love the way they work for each other. I love the respect they have for each other.
Yep.
Talking to both of them, and the respect they have each other. And once in a while, they're able to make something work out really well. Saturday night, the Plymouth Dirt Track in Plymouth, Wisconsin. That's right outside of Sheboygan, by the way. You know,
one of your favorites.
Saying Sheboygan.
Yep.
And Sunday, they're at the famed and historic Angel Park Speedway. Sun Prairie, Wisconsin.
Are great racetracks.
Oh, my gosh. Isn't that awesome? Lucas Oil ASCS, the National Tour is off for a few weeks. Weekly racing, another one of my favorite towns, Sapulpa. Hey, Creek County Speedway. Emmett Hahn's now, his family's now running that racetrack.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he had it leased out to a buddy of his, and the buddy ran into something. and he was going to make this his last year. So the Hahn family has stepped in, and they're promoting it. So Sapulpa, Oklahoma, Great Falls, Montana, Saturday night, Great Falls, Beaumont, Texas, and Lawton, Oklahoma. Now this one here in Tulare, the 5th annual Peter Murphy Classic. Now, Peter Murphy, a great racer, injured in 2013 and no longer able to race, and he's put together this thing. And why it is so good is he goes to everybody and gets all kinds of money. And I know we race for trophies, and I know that it's good, all this touchy-feely thing, but I'm telling you, you throw some money at sprint car racers, and they'll do some amazing things.
Absolutely.
And they will do it this weekend at Tulare. Friday night, it's the Sprint Car Challenge Tour, the 360 Tour, and Saturday night, it's the King of the West NARC Series. And then USAC West Coast 360s both nights. And if you can't make it out there, our friends at Speed Shift TV have the pay-per-view on it. So that is phenomenal. So, and let's see, other racing. Attica has the Fast Series. Jackson kicks off their season. River City Speedway, the NOSA Sprints. Saturday, Brush Creek Motor Complex in Peebles, Ohio Valley Sprint Car Series. Butler Motor Speedway, they have the sprints on dirt and the 410s together. Fremont. Oh, Knoxville, that's right. We can't forget about Kendra out there at Knoxville. Who knows what kind of party she's throwing this week. It was a couple weeks ago they were wearing sombreros in Victory Lane, where Doug Clark had a big sombrero, Brownie had a sombrero, Cinco de Mayo. Dollar beer night. Kendra's got some party. It's 410s, 360s, and 305s. Wayne County Speedway, the Ohio Sprint Car Series is out there as well. So, oh my gosh.
Woo.
This is going to be epic. We get a little cooperation.
Mother Nature.
Exactly. This is going to be good. So, hey, that is some great stuff. Also great stuff. Oh, and okay, our friends, Hefner Racing Products, okay? My buddy up there, Jeff Wessel. Jeff's kind of our go-to guy.
Yep.
Okay, I didn't even realize this. Like, I talked to Jeff like last 3 or 4 years, and all of a sudden I see the knucklehead mounting a seat in a race car, and he's running mini sprints. Jeff, I mean, when you talk about Hefner Racing Products, you're talking about racers. I mean, Jeff is running a mini sprint this year. I mean, heard he had to widen the seat. We had to do a little adjusting of the seat, but I won't say that on the show.
It happens.
I won't say that. I won't say that anywhere publicly.
Not the first driver.
Exactly, yeah. Jeff Wessel, great. But I think that's the thing with our friends at Hefner Racing Products. You call up there and you order something, and they got great racing parts, and you end up talking about racing because they're just die-hard racers. So www.hrpracing, that's hrpracing.com. And now a member of the Jeff Wessel fan club as far as racers go. Wonderful guy, great guy. So good stuff there along the way. Hey, want to remind you this Saturday, talking Lucas Oil ASCS National Tour Racing, Seth Bergman is going to join us on MRN's Wing Nation presented by Sage Fruit. That's on MAV TV. Thanks for joining us here today.
This has been the Wing Nation Weekend Podcast, brought to you by Hefner Racing Products. The Wing Nation Weekend Podcast is a production of the Motor Racing Network. All rights reserved.